Right, welcome back everyone to F1 with Sam and Kireth. I don't even know what episode we're on now, but just two guys talking F1. Sam, professional karter. I do a lot of sim racing. And it's about the halfway mark of the F1 season. Who's hot, who's not, driver market, the battle between Lando Norris and Max Verstappen. I just want to start off, Sam, with who is faster right now as a package? Is it Max Verstappen in the Red Bull or is it Lando Norris in the McLaren?
As a package?
Yeah, if the season was starting now, who would you actually back to win?
I'd still probably back Max to win because ultimately he's so experienced at running at the front. I don't think he's going to make the mistakes just Lando's going to make. But
he never crashed into people when he's in the front and he's under pressure.
No, never once. Yeah. I think generally as it stands right now, where we are, I think the McLaren is the better car, but I think Max is a better driver.
Does that surprise you how McLaren have got there? Do you think that's something to do with Newey leaving and the instability and sort of the rate of progress at Red Bull slowing? Or do you think it's just because McLaren, let's face it, they were like a meme team a few years ago. Like really, really bad. They were like sponsorship champions.
Yeah.
But now, I think the last few races, they've just been coming up.
They seem to be like the tyre wear kings. Their tyres seem to be lasting. You know, like the olden days when Lewis was like, oh, my tyres are dead. Yeah. And then 10 laps later, he's just putting the fastest lap. It seems to be where McLaren are right now. They're not as strong ultimate race pace.
Yeah.
But they can make their tyres last a lot longer.
And therefore they finish strong.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas Max is fast, he disappears into the distance. But if Lando can just, even Oscar, to be fair to Oscar, he can do it as well, as we saw in the sprints.
Yeah.
If they can keep close enough to Max, then they're in with a shout. I think once Max is gone, he's gone. But if you can keep it within a few seconds, they're in for a shout. I mean, this is filmed just after Austria, so we know what's happened here. Max was gone. There was that slow pit stop and the bad tactics from Red Bull, which allowed Lando back into it.
I slightly disagree. I'm going to say I strongly disagree because I feel like if I look back at the lineage, starting with Imola in the rain, Miami, Spain, Austria, and I've missed out another one there. Canada, very importantly, actually. Lando seems comfortable with Verstappen having like a 7, 8, 9 second gap.
Yeah.
And then in the last 15, 20 laps of the GP, pulling it back half a second here, half a second there.
Yep.
So I don't know if McLaren are very strict, tying in what you're saying, and sticking to their delta, running their race, managing their tyres, and then it comes back at the end. It's certainly not the 20, 25 seconds we've seen Verstappen up the road like we saw in 2023. But it's very interesting because I don't think Verstappen feels safe now at 7 seconds ahead.
No, exactly. I don't think he does. I think you'll see mistakes start creeping in, and the same as we had with Mercedes when they were so dominant for so long, they got put under pressure. They were making the wrong strategy calls. Their pit stops were being blown out of the water. They were rubbish. Are we starting to see that now with the Red Bulls? Because obviously they made the wrong strategy at Austria. Their pit stop was terrible, which allowed Lando back in. It is interesting, and I don't know about you, but was you expecting McLaren to be the main rivals?
Because I stream every race on YouTube. We do the watch along, thousands of people watching. Hopefully some people watching this video hope you're enjoying it. But like we followed the story for years now. So I would say last season there were times when Piastri had a really impressive rookie season. In fact, last season I thought Piastri was outshining Lando. And I was saying, maybe controversial, I think Lando needs to sort of buck his ideas
we spoke about that at the start of one of the first episodes.
Because Lando's got so many other interests with Quadrant and everything else, and Piastri seems to be focused. But anyway, it's inverted this time around, and Lando's clearly the driver on top, so full credit to Lando. But yeah, they have emerged. Last season, it was the Ferrari. So Singapore, we saw Carlos Sainz was the only non-Red Bull driver to win in 2023. This season in Australia, who's a driver that profits? It is Charles Leclerc, right? And Charles Leclerc wins in Monaco. So at the beginning of the season-ish, it was Ferrari. But I think the surprise now is that both Mercedes and McLaren are ahead of Ferrari. And McLaren, particularly in the hands of Lando, because despite the penalty that Piastri got in qualifying at Austria, which I think is really harsh.
I think if he hadn't got there, he might have won.
I think despite getting that, he should have won.
You reckon?
I think you look where Lando was, Lando's pace, like Piastri, from time to time he was dropping in fast laps because following all the standings. But in the end, there was only probably about 2 seconds between him and Russell at the end.
But you say that, why didn't Perez win then? Why wasn't Perez anywhere near there?
Well, Perez is just sort of washed at the moment. He also had damage to his car. But this people like to say, kind of like as a grandstanding thing, like, oh, Red Bull can't afford to have Perez in the second car like that. And Red Bull can afford to do what they want. But I do think we're going to get to the point where it isolates Verstappen. He has no teammates around him. If McLaren had started that race in second and third like they would have been if Piastri hadn't his lap time lead,
they can split
the strategies, go long. In the end, we actually saw that because Piastri did go long and Verstappen was coming up behind him like we've seen at Spain. I think they did the same thing. But this time around, they decided to pit Piastri. But to answer your question, it has come. If you asked me last season, I wouldn't have said that McLaren will be the team challenging. I would have said it would have been Ferrari.
Yeah.
Whether that means Ferrari are looking ahead at next year, because we know McLaren are bringing a lot of developments this year. I don't know.
Ferrari obviously have Hamilton coming next year as well.
And Ferrari's got Hamilton. That's going to be a new renewed push. I do think the field is catching Red Bull, though, and then we're going to have a shake-up in 2026. So for me, 2025 could be a great season. And personally, I want to see more spice. I don't like the fact that these drivers, they all get on the same private jet and they're all sharing champagne in the jet on the way back to Monaco. Like, I just don't... difficult to explain, but it's too like pally for me.
Yeah.
I want these drivers to actually have a bit of spite, and it was good to see that a little bit in the interviews after, because both drivers are clearly rattled.
Yeah.
And both drivers clearly had a PR team who had told them their lines. The Red Bull PR line was Lando had got multiple track limits penalties. He's already got a 5-second penalty. By the way, Lando had a 5-second penalty.
Yeah.
So if Lando had overtaken Verstappen there cleanly, is he going to finish 5 seconds ahead? Probably not.
I think he probably would have, you know.
It's not that many laps to go.
8 or 9.
Yeah.
It'd be close. It depends, yeah.
So many ifs, whatever. But I think
I think he definitely would have pulled it.
What Stella said in terms of the whole world knows that Verstappen, that's the McLaren line, is that, hey, it's an opportunity to try and get Verstappen reined in.
Yeah.
But I think both these drivers are still going to be full pals, and they all, they live next to each other in Monaco, and
I expect
it's good for the sport.
Much the same at Silverstone this weekend. I mean,
maybe at Cops. Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, ironically, it is as well. This time last year, McLaren came good at Austria. Mm-hmm. This is when obviously Lando has won.
Yeah.
Granted, it was because of that safety car.
But then in Canada, he lost out because Canada he was pulling out.
He lost out as well.
Yeah.
But their strongest race where they could, Imola you could say as well, but their strongest race where they've had the best opportunity, in my opinion, to win, not Miami, obviously because of the safety car, has been Austria. Last year they made the massive step at Austria. Have they done the same thing again this year?
We'll see with their upgrades. They've been bringing. All right, let's go to Ferrari now. Ferrari, like you said, Hamilton coming in next season for Carlos Sainz.
Yeah.
Carlos Sainz in some races have been clearly outperforming Charles Leclerc in my view. Charles Leclerc, terrible luck here.
Yeah.
Terrible luck in Spain as well.
Ever since he won at Monaco.
But he won at Monaco. The question is, if you were Charles Leclerc, would you rather win at Monaco for Ferrari and have a terrible rest of the season, or would you rather not win at Monaco and have a pretty good end to the season?
I think for me, personally, I'd go for the Monaco one.
Me too.
It's his home track.
Yeah, they're not going to win the championship.
They're not going to win the championship. Get all the celebration in at the home track.
Next season's a big one for Leclerc. He's going to get head-to-head with Hamilton. So it's almost like, again, a bit eyes on 2025.
Yeah, me personally, I think Hamilton will beat Leclerc. I think he will absolutely try. But then I rate Sainz a lot higher than Leclerc, which I know obviously a lot of your viewers will not
let us
agree
know
with
if
me
you
at
agree or
all.
disagree with that one.
But I rate Sainz higher than Leclerc. I think he will massively struggle against Hamilton.
So best of the rest, we've got a steak here and out in the latest livery. What a terrible season for steak. I mean, Zhou Guanyu, Valtteri Bottas, just rooted. Not like Haas are completely wiping the floor with Sauber.
6th and 8th at the weekend.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. And they're scoring points consistently. Not consistently, but you know what I mean. For like
they're capable of getting into Q3.
Yes.
I don't think...
Although now with Alpine picking up their pace.
Yeah, it's just exposing Stake a bit more.
Yeah.
And RB Cash App seem to float up and down. Williams, Aston Martin also sinking like a stone.
Yeah, there's nothing else to say about Aston Martin.
Yeah, so it's becoming interesting. I think when the season started, it literally felt like you had Verstappen and then there was a midfield that was everyone.
Yeah.
And if you remember in Austria in Q1, it was the closest, I think it was pretty much half a second almost between everyone. It was the closest qualifying in history.
Yeah, I think it was 6 attempts to go from first to eliminated.
Yeah, it was ridiculously close.
Yeah.
But in the race, it was obviously wider than that. There was a point where Verstappen had lapped most of the field. He was a little bit out of sync.
Yeah.
Um,
So with this, how are we thinking about the Mercedes upgrade? Are their upgrades going to carry on going up? Because obviously they're moving higher and higher up the field. Russell's now won.
I'm surprised Mercedes have not announced their driver yet, because I feel like the focus at Mercedes is, at least Ferrari were like, okay, well, we know what Ferrari's doing next season. So, the philosophy with upgrades and how they're implementing them, it has a coherence to it.
I feel this year for Ferrari is like a research year, ready for Lewis.
With Mercedes, we don't know. They've just won the race, which is great to have another team winning the race. We shouldn't forget that. It was gifted to them, but Russell was in the right place at the right time, like Charles Leclerc was in Australia and Melbourne.
Yeah.
But I don't know what's going on, because Lewis Hamilton seems to be some briefing like he's not happy that he's not getting the updated parts and things are being manipulated against him. So it just seems like a bit of a messy season right now at Mercedes. And I feel like if they announce their driver, we'd know what's going to go on next season. I don't know why that is.
No. Oh, well, maybe, I mean, you'd be hearing it all the time in the press about Toto still trying to entice Max over.
Yeah.
I can't ever see that happening.
Yeah.
I can't see that happening.
It was clear to not really blame too much for the Max and Lando incident. Obviously why? It's because even though Mercedes are a customer team for Mercedes, but we'll see.
I mean, is Toto waiting for a massive fallout
the inevitable fallout
in Red Bull and thinking, yep, look, I've got my seat open here for you, Max. Come on in.
Adrian Newey as well. I think he was asked about that.
Yeah.
But let us know what you think. This has been the F1 show with Sam and Kireth. It's all about your thoughts in the comments. Let us know and we'll answer them in the next one. Please subscribe and we'll see you next time.